All right, it's some 22 minutes after 7. We all know the challenges that adolescents, young people have to go through. Sometimes it's difficult to get information, and that's why I'm excited that there's a magazine dedicated for the adolescents. But really, what is contained in it? You know, we like to interact. Is that what it is providing us? But what are the challenges that the adolescents of today face? My guest is Mercy Ajaben. She's managing editor at Discovery Publications. They are responsible for this concept. Mercy, good morning and thank you for your time.
Good morning, Mama V.
I think I want to find out from you, from your point of view, what do you think the challenges of young people today are?
Thank you, Mama V. They're varied. They're many because they are going through that transition from childhood to adulthood. They are looking for identity. They are asking questions about the do's and the don'ts. But the most important thing is the changes that they are going through in their body, especially that is making them have those sexual desires. And then they do not know what to do about it, how to handle it, where to go. And so basically that is what they go through. They're moving from childhood to adulthood. And there's so many things as far as their health is concerned, as far as social standard and status are concerned, what people expect them to do and not to do, it's a challenge for them.
Is anybody responsible for them? I know you would say parents, but who else is responsible for them when they are going through that kind of cycle?
First of all, yes, the parents. But you know that, yes, they are in schools, they are in churches or in religious organizations or faith-based organizations, and so everybody, and then the community. But the challenge that they have is there aren't enough structures to address their questions or their challenges, and then they do not even have that platform to receive that information where they can ask questions. And in Ghana, we're very conservative, and so you ask any questions and you are tagged as a bad boy or bad girl. And so they would rather keep quiet and experiment what they're going through, and it is the experimentation that brings the problems that they face.
But you know, some people would say, oh, when I was growing up, nobody taught me anything. I mean, I had to learn things, and you know, it helped me grow up quickly or quicker. So why do we need to pay a certain attention to these young ones who are growing up? Why don't we just let them experience it and let them learn from their experiences?
Mama V, the last census, the 2010 census, says that we have over 22.4% of our population being adolescent. That's a little about 5 million. And Ghana Health Service tells us that in 2010 we had 750,000 children who went through teenage pregnancy. What it means is that there is some information which is critical that these children are not receiving. For example, if you are suddenly growing beard, you're suddenly going through menstruation, what do you do? How do you handle it? And because of the hormones that they have, it makes them think that, okay, once I have an urge for sex, I should just go in for. But is that what happens? No. But when we were growing up, we would say that nothing of that sort happened. But now the world is so complex. Information technology wasn't as rife as many years ago, but now it is. I mean, if you take any phone, you have so many apps, and so there's a lot of information that these children are exposed to. But is the information what they need? For example, a lot of them are into sexting now because it's out of curiosity and out of adventure, just posting nude pictures. But then when these pictures fall into the hands of third parties, they use it to blackmail them, and so they need to be informed. It's not everything that you should share. It's not everything that you should put out there. And basically, they don't have this information. And so they're just discussing things amongst themselves. They do not have avenues where to express themselves. They don't have a platform. And so it's just a trial and error thing that they're going through. And then they end there. Those who are going through it, having a very smooth transition, have parents, or they are in churches, or they're in the mosques where some kind of programs are being organized for them. But I have to say that as far as entertainment is concerned, there are at least a few outlets where they can enjoy themselves. But it's still not enough. And so we need to address their needs. That's why this magazine is coming out.
Sure, but is it that parents and adults today are not caring for their teens?
I dare say, from the background and from the experience of what I have done, that we have parenting challenges. A lot of things have changed as far as parenting is concerned. Most parents now are very busy. And so most of these children are in the hands of helps, which is also a different ball game altogether that has to be addressed. And so that contact that parents should have with the children, where you are helping the child to navigate through those changes, is not there. And then again, because of level of ICT, a lot of people are not interacting. Everybody is glued to the iPad or the iPhone and interacting with gadgets instead of interacting with their children. And because of this interaction, they go to these gadgets for the information, and it's sometimes very challenging.
So what are you bringing on board, really? What's contained in this magazine?
It's a 40-page magazine that looks at what is adolescence, parenting adolescents, questions should adolescents ask. There's segments, the WhatsApp segment, which is sports, entertainment, Christianity, word build, and then there is something on teen romance. There's a story on two teens who were in love and then what happened with other. There's a bit on ICT, and ICT we are looking at sexting. Is your teen sexting? What is it? And if your teen is into it, what do you have to do? What are the dangers? And so basically that's what it is.
Let's stay on one of the subjects for a while. How can parents know that their children are involved in certain things that could be harmful to them?
They need to be friends with the adolescents. Usually we just describe them as, oh, they're disobedient, it's a turbulent time, and I can't, it's not an event. Adolescence is not an event, it's a process. And we need to, as parents, move along with the children so that once we are their friends, we are able to know who their friends are, what they're going through, what their interests are. And so if there are any changes as far as their interests are concerned, then you can immediately step in to offer that suggestion. We should first of all give them that room to be able to confide in us. But unfortunately, what happens, of course, the typical Ghanaian society is you do what I say. You don't question it. And so it's that authoritative figure of a parent. And so some of these children are not even friends with their parents.
Yeah, but there are other young people who would also, no matter how comfortable you make it or you make them feel, they will not want to be friends with you. They just feel that you're not the person I want to talk about some of these things with.
That is the challenge. But you see, they're taking a lot of information and a lot of concepts from what they see and what they feel, how we make them feel. I mean, no parent wants to throw away the child, but sometimes as parents, we are scared that because we know a lot of things out there, and so you don't want your adolescent to get into trouble. But we need to, they are children, and so we need to guide them, and we need to help them to understand that this is why I don't want you to get here, or this is why I don't want you to do that, because they will get the information anyway, especially because of a level of information technology that we have. And that is what makes it a challenge. And I tell you that it's very challenging being an adolescent parent. It is very challenging.
You've got one yourself.
I am one myself, and initially it was a hard way. But when I learned to, you know, give some level of independence and then make myself a friend, I realize that now even things that I'm not supposed to be informed about, everything I am being told, and then this person says this and this girl is behaving this way, and what do you think she's up to, what do you think I should do, and it's enjoyable. So that's
is it when you decided to, you know, to trust him or her? I trust you. Make your own decisions sometimes, but I'm here to guide you. Is that the sort of thinking you should go?
No, Mamavi, I don't think that parents are, their point is, I don't trust you. No, it is a fear that you have because you're an adult. You know what is out there. You have grown. You know what this step is likely to end up with. And so you just want to be very protective. And it is this protection or overprotectiveness that they do not understand. And we need to ourselves know that once I am guiding him or her, she will be able to make certain choices, especially when I have given him or her that information, that these are the pros and the cons. At the end of the day, whatever you do or whatever step you make or take is going to result in something. How do you want it to be? If we present it this way, then they are also very conscious of the fact that whatever I do is going to end up in a certain way. How do I want it to be? But most of the time, we want to, as parents, take the steps for them, and that is the challenge.
So how do you let go as a parent?
Especially
when you see where the child is headed. I mean, when you look at the friends that child has around him or her, you know it.
Yes.
How do you let go?
You start by the minute adolescence sets in. You start by, and you don't wait till adolescence. Throughout, you need to be, I mean, we say the charity begins at home. You need to let the child know that these are not the rules, but these are the limits, more or less. And when you do this, this is the end result. When you do that, this is the end result. And it is very, very important that you associate with peers or people who would influence you positively, because your friends sometimes would give an impression about you. And once you start from there and you make yourself a friend of your child and know his or her friends, it's easier. So when any friend is coming in and that friend is a negative influence, you can quickly step in. But when we wait till everything has been molded, that is when it becomes a problem. That is when it becomes a problem.
Interesting. It's very challenging raising some of these young people. But since it's supposed to be interactive, I'm just wondering how they can, because, you know, the mag is one way, isn't it?
Yes.
So what kind of information is contained in there so that they may not want to do follow-ups? What happens?
They have what questions teenagers ask, and so some of the questions are looking at peer pressure, or the critical one, why my parents do not understand me. The interviews we had with them, some were like, they don't even try. That was their attitude. They don't even try to understand me. Everything I do, from my food to my clothes to my everything, they are old school. And so these are some of things that we're talking about.
Okay.
And then after the lunch or after the magazine, we have talks with them on various platforms where we have experts addressing the issues. In fact, a lot of the issues in the mag are issues that have been addressed by experts. So it's not just like fishing out some information from anywhere, experts, and then surveys that have been conducted. So parents were interviewed, adolescents themselves were interviewed, and those who deal with adolescents, like teachers and counselors, were also interviewed. So it is it's all of it put together, but particularly listening to the adolescent. That was a critical thing, because you need to listen to them and help them to navigate through the process. That's
one of the conflicting issues. I mean, one of the things that also bring about this is what I want or this is what I think you should do is choosing a school, whether senior high school or a university. You've interacted with a number of them. What do you think the majority of them want? Is it the freedom to choose the schools that they want to?
Some want that. Others just want to go to the parents of the schools of their parents.
Okay.
But others do not want to go to the schools that their parents attended, because sometimes those who do not want to go, the impression is because all along my parents want me to go to the school. They don't even want me to give any opinion, and that is why they're rebelling. And so it all boils down to the fact that if we explain things to them, if we let them know that, listen, I think that the area of study, and another thing that came up was a choice of subject. I want to do fine art, and so I wanted to do creative arts, but my mom wants me to do science. Why should they want to?
Yeah.
And so it's like the interest and the talents of the children are not being taken into consideration, and it makes the children struggle as far as academic is concerned.
Yeah.
So again, the lesson for us as parents is, these are our children. As they're growing up and as we are raising them, we get to know their interests. I mean, sometimes you give a toy to a little boy, and before you're aware, he's dismantled everything and then put it back again. That should tell you that this is a child who has interest in there, and as he does it more, you can say that, okay, maybe towards the engineering or technical or what. So it will be suicidal, if I dare say, if you force such a child to read literature, because he's not interested in reading. And there are other children who are just glued to the books, storybooks, and all that she's doing is she's taking colors and mixing them. And when you see her dress up, I mean, this is a little boy or a little girl, but she's able to match colors, and so it should give us some idea of what their interests and talents are, and that should guide in choosing the subjects and the schools, because there are certain schools that do not do certain programs, but then most of them are like, they won't even listen to me.
Yeah, my dad didn't listen to me. He wanted me to do science, forced me into the science class.
Me too.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the old system you could change, and so, well, I had to do the science for them, pass it, and then later on when I had to go to sixth form, I decided I want to do arts. And so,
Why are parents like that sometimes?
well, sometimes they think, well, I'm your parent, I know what is good for you, so you do what I say.
But you see, right now that I'm also a parent, I'm thinking that I want my boys to do certain things. I'm not sure I inherited it, but I'm faced with the challenges of life today, and I'm thinking, I have a good idea what you should do to get a better life.
Exactly. Which is good as a parent, which is true, because really you are supposed to be responsible for their lives. But what we need to learn, and I'm learning a lot of things, what we need to learn is, yes, I'm in charge, I'm responsible, but I need to guide. That's the difference. Sometimes we are not guiding them, we are just deciding
For them.
that this is what it ought to be. And that's it, it's final. And that's where the challenge is, that's where we get a lot of rebellion. Because as I learned that with my boy, sometimes I'm amazed at what because he's a cool type. He's not like the girl who is not cool. And if you are not careful, you would want to insist that initially that is how it was. I expected him to be, my friend, be active and it's like, Mommy.
Yeah.
Once he was like, Mommy, what is your problem? I'm doing this thing well. And I was like, you dare ask me that question? What is my problem? My problem is I want you to this. He would just not say anything. But then I realized that no, you need to revise your notes. And believe me, I'm enjoying it now.
Yeah, I watched a movie yesterday. Interesting. A man who is very aggressive in life, the only successful person in his family in terms of he has a lot of money, and he has a gentle boy as a son, a team player who is part of the basketball team. He wants to, pass the ball to someone for the person to hit the ball in the basket, and the dad wants him to shoot himself. And the guy is saying, listen, it's a team. And this is a little boy, this is like a 7-year-old boy telling his father that it's teamwork. But the man pushes the boy so hard that he goes to play the next time and he picks a fight with someone, so he's kicked out of the team. And the coach is like, that is so not your son.
Exactly.
So something has changed. And sometimes I think parents, we look at our children and we're like, you should be like me, or you should be more aggressive.
Exactly.
When they're gentle.
Yeah, but then the thing we need to know is that, and out of this project, some of the other things that have come out is sometimes parents, we do not consider the temperaments of our children. It's a very critical thing, because even if they're twins, they will turn out differently based on their temperament. I mean, if you have a child who is outgoing, he or she will do things differently. If you have a child who is not outgoing, he or she will do things differently. But the problem or the challenge we have is, okay, this is how things went with Jonathan. And so I expect that things will go this way with Joel. But Jonathan is different from Joel. And my little one is more active. Not active, but he's more outgoing.
And he's more giddy giddy.
He's more giddy giddy than Jonathan. And sometimes I'm like, what do you think you're doing? Stop it. Like, no, mommy, it's exciting. So you need to learn, and it's difficult, I have to admit, because in dealing with one person, you have to use a certain set of strategy, if not rules. And in dealing with another person, and all of them are growing together. Come on, parenting is not easy, and especially parenting adolescents.
So I've got to ask you, how can parents get a hold of this mag, or even the young ones themselves if they're watching us right now?
Yes, we intend having outlets. Obviously, multi-TV would have to be one, especially because of multi-TV for kids. And then other places. We're also looking at Batuna Total. These places and other media outlets, possibly Joy FM, because definitely they're going to be chasing up. But then we have contacts with many of the schools. We've already been to them already. And so we have contact with them where we're going to be placing some there so that children and parents can have easy access to
So this
them.
is not out yet?
No, it's out tomorrow.
Out tomorrow, okay. And it's Teen Mag.
Yeah, Discovery Teen Mag.
Discovery
Teen Mag.
So how much is it selling for?
It's selling for 10 cedis.
Okay. And what's the plan? Is this, like a yearly, quarterly?
It's a quarterly production, because the idea is once it comes out, the issues that are addressed are going to be topics for discussion, like parenting adolescents, questions adolescents are. So they're going to be issues for discussion where we're going to be having experts addressing the issues, and especially the issue on adolescents, because it is wide. So we have specialists, psychologists, gynecologists talking about it so that parents and adolescents themselves would understand. Because sometimes what we also found out from these experts is some of these have delayed adolescence. And if you have a child who has delayed adolescence, what do? You need to seek medical attention. And then also we have children who are adolescents, but they are disabled. And their situation is also completely different. You need to handle them differently. So where do I seek help? Who do I talk to? How do I handle my teen who has a disability? Because I see his or her friends or her peers doing certain things, and my teen cannot do it. It's so frustrating. How do I go about it as a parent? And especially if I have one teen who is not disabled and another one who is... because some parents, their question is, what didn't I do right that resulted in my child being this way? They didn't do anything wrong. It just happened that way. So how do they manage that situation? And it was very touching talking to some of these parents who have adolescents with disability.
Sure. So these are experiences contained in this magazine, and listening to you, I feel parents also need to have the magazine as much as their teens. It's a two-way thing.
It is.
But thank you very much for your time this morning. Really grateful, to have this conversation with you. But an auto mechanic has innovated a means for physically challenged persons to be able to drive in a salon car without the help of chauffeurs. And Gladys Oseo Redo had the opportunity to experience this.